What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Bat Flip, episode 8. We're talking about Tennessee and their win over Kentucky. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor. I'm going to check out our sponsors, Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs, and Blue Water Climate Control. Here is a quick word from our good friends at Blue Water Climate Control.
People always ask, where did we get the name Blue Water Climate Control? When a Navy ship casts off lines, exits the harbor, and loses sight of land, that's blue water sailing. It takes a team of people to do that. Tireless work, focus, and attention to detail. So much of starting a business is just like that. After it's done, you get filled with deep satisfaction for accomplishing something. And it's quickly followed by, now the real work begins. We're Blue Water Climate Control.
All right, guys, let's get right into it. Tennessee is coming off a big win, I guess expected win, but still a big win. Anytime you win against an SEC opponent, it's a big win. So getting that win over Kentucky, winning the rubber match 11-2 on Saturday. You won the first game 14-4 on Thursday. Chad Dallas doing what he does, shoving it, getting wins. He's 7-1 on the season right now. You only needed 3 innings to score those 14 runs there in the second, the third, and the fourth. And Friday, not the best game. It was closer than the score actually was, but it kind of got away from you at the end. Then obviously you won that game on Saturday to win the series. Now you've won your 6th SEC series this season. You also tied your SEC win total from that 2019 season. And still have 9 games left to really build on that. And tied with Vandy for first in the SEC East. So definitely something to really build on. What was your kind of overall thoughts on the weekend as a whole?
Yeah, and only 1 game behind Arkansas for the actual whole SEC lead. I think they've got 15. You got us and Vandy at 14. But, yeah, I mean, good days right now. I mean, it was good series. I know we talked about it. I know it was kind of a point I brought up. A young team like that, sometimes they don't really know that they're not the best team there, so they'll come out ready to fight. I mean, you saw on Friday that, like you said, I mean, I think that's why Chad Dallas is one of the better opening series starters in the country. I mean, he doesn't allow teams to really get life like that. I know they struck a couple times early in the game, but after that, he really locked in then. That kind of set the tone for that game. I mean, you won 14-4, outscored them 27-14 on the weekend, so you nearly doubled them up. But good to see Blade Tidwell get back to good form. I know he kind of struggled his last couple outings, not terribly, but I know you got 5 innings out of him, only gave up 4 hits. Fan 5 people. So, and he gave up that 1 run early, never really looked that shook after that. So good to see him get back on track a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you had some guys face some adversity. You talked about Chad Dallas, they got some bombs off of him, but he settled down and it didn't really phase him. And same with Blade Tidwell's. And then you look at Saturday's game or Friday's game with Jake Rucker, strikes out 4 times and then comes out Saturday and hits a grand slam. Gets all those, gets, I guess, a 4 for 4 with the grand salami, gets those 4 strikeouts back with 1 swing of the bat. So yeah, they just done a great job of, when things go wrong, they seem to not really snowball. They kind of catch themselves and really settle down from there. So anybody really impress you? You mentioned Blade Tidwell. That was a guy who stood out for me. I think he needed to really have a good consistent start, because he's been good. You've seen it, but he's not been consistent in SEC play. So it was good to see him. I thought it was also really good to see Redmond Walsh kind of come in on Saturday and dominate the way he did. He looks like that same Redmond Walsh that we saw 2 years ago, who was one of the best closers in the country. Didn't give up a single hit. I think he pitched 3 and 2/3 innings, and did the same as Blade Tidwell, fan 5 batters. And that's something Tennessee really needed in that bullpen, is another arm. we've seen a lot of Sean Hunley, Kirby Cannell. Now I'm hoping we can see more and more of Redmond Walsh, and hopefully he's looking more and more like that 2019 Redmond Walsh.
Yeah, Walsh was a guy that stood out to me. I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. A little over 3 innings, only no hits and 5 Ks. I mean, they never looked comfortable against him at all, which that always baffles me, him and Kirby Connell. I mean, I know it's because they got filthy stuff, but just the way that they're able to keep guys off balance when they're not up there like Tidwell is able to touch 98 miles an hour. They're going to piece on the outside corner, piece on the inside corner, curveball, slider, and they just slice and dice you. Like you're never comfortable against them in the box, but I guess get into him more when we talk about our MVP later, but Jackson Greer really stood out to me. I mean, what a series from your backup catcher, a guy that just transferred in this year that before this series, I mean, you could tell he can hit it hard. I mean, he's had some loud outs earlier this year, had a couple home runs, but he really impressed me this weekend.
Yeah, a guy that, you haven't seen a ton of this season just because you have a, preseason All-American and Connor Pavoloni. But yeah, a guy that, made the most of his opportunity this past weekend and really getting the bat on the ball, getting some balls out of here. I thought that was huge. And not just him, that whole bottom of the lineup. You had Pete Durkee on Thursday go 3 for 4. Luke Lipsius homered in all 3 games. And then Jordan Beck is the SEC newcomer of the week, going 7 for 13 with 4 RBIs and 2 home runs in the series. So that whole bottom of the lineup really showed out against Kentucky. And, if they're able to keep up that momentum, Tennessee is going to be hard to beat because they're scoring a lot of runs right now. It wasn't the case on Friday, but you hit 2 home runs. There was just nobody on base when you did it. And that was kind of, when they hit a home run, it was a 2-run or a 3-run shot. When we hit one, it was a solo shot. So that's just kind of how the way baseball is. I don't know what happened to the bats against Lipscomb, but I'll take them come out in an SEC series in a midweek game every day of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
So who else really? I mentioned the bottom of the lineup. Anybody else really impress you?
Yeah, my other guy it was Luke. I mean, that one he hit was it the one Saturday? I think the one that cleared the batter's eye in center field. I think it was when we lost. Maybe. Yeah. I mean that was one of those that
was Saturday the rubber match.
Yeah. Okay. So that. We mentioned, I mean, title of the show, the bat flip. I would have liked. That's not really Luke style, I don't think, but I would love to. When you hit one like that, I would have loved to see him give just a world class bat flip on that because that's one of those that there's no doubt about it. When he hit that, you could tell even with the metal bats. I know they've deadened them down in the last few years. That was an absolute shot. So Luke, I mean, like you said, he not one of your normally just better hitters in terms of average, but he's always got that pop, always able to go deep. So Luke was Jackson Greer, but Luke was the other guy that stood out. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tennessee's really kind of flexing their muscles with the power this weekend. I think they hit 7 home runs in this series. And I thought Kentucky, for the most part, hit the ball pretty well. I mean, everything they hit seemed to be hard, especially on Thursday night. Everything they hit on Chad Dallas was hit hard. And you mentioned they've kind of deadened down the bats a little bit. Those did not sound like BB Core bats.
Not at all. No.
At all. But I think they have some pretty good players at Kentucky. Their pitching isn't where probably you want it to be in the SEC, but TJ Collette is one of the best hitters in the SEC, so probably in the country as well. And I mentioned, I think right before Thursday, I was like, got to keep him in the yard. Guess what? His first at bat, he goes yard. I'm like,
yeah.
Good
God.
Yeah.
You called it.
Yeah. But I thought they had that the freshman from Maryville who's pretty good, Ruben Church. Austin Schultz is a guy. John Rhodes had a pretty decent series. So I think they have, like you mentioned Thursday, they got a pretty young team. And they should be good here in the next couple of years. So I think it's a quality series win. Anything else you want to mention with the series?
I was just going to say, I think their lineup is much better than what their record shows. I mean, they're not a bad team. It's what we mentioned. They're not a bad team by any stretch, but I think their lineup is
they got an SEC
impressive
lineup.
Oh yeah, for sure. Their staff, yeah. I think they had good guys that had good stuff, but they seemed kind of wild all weekend. It seemed like when Tennessee strung together a couple hits, you could tell they kind of fell apart there. So I think that's the main thing holding them back. But yeah, I was impressed with their lineup, their ability to steal bases when they were out there. I mean, they really impressed me then. I think their lineups a much. I don't think their record is a good indicator of what their lineup is. Once they get their staff fixed and get some good guys in the bullpen, need to watch out for them the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this series, good series win. I mentioned that's their 6th of the year. Anything that, before we get an MVP, anything that you think we want to see more of, or maybe fix as we inch closer to postseason play, regionals, super regionals? Who knows?
Just keep scoring like you have been. I mean, it's what we mentioned. That game against the Lipscomb was kind of the outlier here lately, but everything else, I mean, you've had really good at bats. I mean, this team, they never really get cheated when they're at the plate. It's rare to see a guy go up there and 3 pitches not look comfortable in any of them. So we've seen that for a little while now. But yeah, just keep scoring like you have been, because I mean, you've seen struggles with Tidwell here lately. He finally got it back together this weekend, but it doesn't really matter who's struggling on the mound if you're putting up 14 runs in a game. So I just keep scoring, and the likelihood is you'll keep winning.
It's a lot easier to go back out to the mound when you have a team scoring 5 or 6 runs an inning at
For
one
sure.
point.
Yeah.
My thing would probably be maybe more options in the bullpen. And, I think they have guys that they're comfortable with, and I get that. But I think, getting into postseason, getting into regionals, super regionals, even SEC tournament, I think you're going to need more arms in that bullpen, some guys you can count on. It was good to see them on Thursday night, get some guys in there that you wouldn't normally see. You got Elijah Pleasance, Will Mabry got in there as well. And, I think you can add probably Redmond Walsh back in there. Him, Sean Hunley, and Kirby Cannell have been the 3 we've seen the most, but I'd like to see maybe 1 or 2 more guys that maybe you can depend on. Maybe it's a Camden Sewell, Elijah Pleasance, Will Mabry, Mark McLaughlin, guys like that. I think they could use 1 or 2 more arms out of the bullpen, because that's usually when Tennessee's losing games. Is like it's usually the starters can get them to that 5, 6, 7 inning, and then after that, they need a couple guys to really slam the door. And it hasn't always been the case, which you're not going to be perfect out of the bullpen. That's just the way baseball is. But I'd like to see more, maybe doors slammed, during close games, and so maybe a couple more arms will help that out.
Yeah, my main guy I think he was the second when you mentioned there was Camden Sewell. He's got nasty stuff, and I love watching him because he's kind of a unicorn, like you see. Most pitchers, they get up there, they like to take their time. They adjust their hat, adjust their belt, whatever they're doing, just trying to slow the game down. That is not Camden Sewell at all, and I absolutely love it. I mean, he catches the ball already on the mound, and it's literally just put the ball in his hand and he's ready for the next pitch. I know we saw a couple times this year they had to slow him down, like the umpires having to call time just to try to get him settled down a little bit, but it works for him. I mean, guys are hitting 219 off of him this year. He's only made 13 appearances, so I'd like to see him a little bit more. Yeah, I think that was a good point.
Yeah. So let's go MVP. Who you got?
I'm going Jackson Greer still. I mean, it's your
Instead
backup.
of MVP, you want to call it Daddy Cap?
That's fine. Yeah, I like it. Or McDonald's bag. That was we saw it early in the year. Yeah, I mean, mine's Jackson Greer. Hit 307 on the weekend. We mentioned had a couple bombs, had a few RBIs, scored a few times. But the main thing stuck out to me is, unless I missed something, I don't think he struck out this weekend. And I don't think he ever got cheated at the plate. It was like everything. I think he only went 4 for 13, which, like I said, it's hitting 307. You'll take that any series, any game. But I don't recall any time that this weekend that he didn't hit an absolute scorcher at somebody. Even his outs. I mean, I know we had at least a couple more that were at the warning track, and some fly balls that I know I mean, I've been playing MLB The Show all day, so I've got the exit velo on my mind that has become a big stat in baseball now. I don't think he hit anything that was under 100 miles an hour coming off the bat. So like I said, he only hit 307. Say that like only 307, but that was awesome. But everything he hit was just pitchers. They probably see the backup catcher coming up there and they think, oh, maybe not as tough and out as your Jordan Beck, your Luke was this weekend, Jake Rucker, but he absolutely scorched the ball all weekend. So I'll give it to Jackson Greer.
Yeah, I like that one. The local kid getting some honor from Dillon over here. Yeah,
the bat flip daddy cap.
Exactly. But yeah, he smoked the ball, and I was kind of shocked. That first one he hit, I was like, man, that was a bomb. And then he hits another one. But yeah, he just had a really good weekend. Want to see him get a little bit better, and maybe we're just kind of spoiled because we have Pavo back there. But I think some base runners and teams do kind of take advantage of him behind the plate. But hey, when you're hitting the way he was hitting this weekend, it's hard to really complain on a guy.
Yeah, I mean he's got a good arm. I know from experience getting down on a knee, like it's more comfortable that way. I mean, especially a long game. If you've got a wild pitch or something like that, you're looking for every rest you can get. But I'd really like to see if there's a guy on first. I mean, just get up off that knee because that cuts down on that really extends your pop time then. So I mean, that was we had a comment just a second ago. It says, does Jackson get the starting job when Pavloni gets healthy? I don't think so, just because of the fielding. I mean, if he keeps hitting like he is, I mean, if he never slows down, then it's kind of tough to take him out. I mean, you could DH him, something like that, but I don't know. I think Pav does have a definite advantage over him in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to go with your guy that you've kind of rolled with this entire season, and Pavloni kind of got going a little bit too until he had to sit out this weekend. I mean, he had a fractured bone in his hand, and he had a freaking 450-foot home run almost.
Still going. It's unofficial still.
Yeah, I mean, it was a freaking moonshot. So yeah, I think you got to roll with Pavloni there. But yeah, Jackson Greer. I mean, that DH spot, it's kind of open too. I mean, Pete Durke's done a good job in it, and some other guys have kind of played that role a little bit in some weekends. But yeah, I mean, he's got to be a name kind of thrown around to at least see in that position.
Right.
I'll go Liam Spence, and it's not flashy because he's done it all year long. But a guy goes 7 for 13, a couple RBIs, 3 walks. I mean, he's talking about guys who that are not rattled whatsoever. It's Liam Spence, and he's become one of the best hitters in college baseball because he's one of the best hitters in the SEC. So I'm just going to go ahead and give him that too. When he gets down 0-2 probably more than anybody in the country, but he doesn't care.
That's what I was going to say. It's like when it gets 0-2, it's like the at bat starts for him. And then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to go. And it's just, I want to find the splits here on what his average is in 0-2 versus everything else. Cause it seems like we talk about guys never getting cheated. It doesn't matter what the count is on him. He's going to get a hit. He's going to get a walk somehow. And
he has to lead the nation in 3-2 counts. I mean, it's always 3-2, 3-2 with Liam Spence up to bat. But I remember one at bat, they threw 2 straight. I think maybe a breaking ball and maybe a fastball was the first pitch on the outside corner. And he didn't touch him. He was down 0-2. And then their next pitch, they tried to jam him, and he just blew one over the shortstop. I mean, just not phased a bit. Yeah. Doesn't change his approach or anything like that. He's just a hitter, and he's going to get on base one way or the other. You're either going to walk me, hit me, or I'm going to get a hit. That's the way this is going to go.
Yeah. I mean, you had guys in the preseason that are preseason All-American, draft prospects, all this. Liam Spence may not have been, especially coming over to the program, may not have been one of those guys that you were really looking at like that. But the way he's been hitting this year and continues to do, teams will be, I don't know what round. I wouldn't try to call in all the millions of baseball draft rounds there. I wouldn't try to call which one, but there'll be teams lined up to take him just by the way he plays good shortstop, but just by the way he never gets cheated at the plate.
Yeah, and you always need base runners. I mean, Liam Spence's on base percentage is what, like over 500 right now?
I think he's got to be still leading the SEC, I would think.
Yeah, I mean it's insane. So yeah, I mean good for him. A guy that he batted ninth the majority of last season, and wasn't a guy that you're just like, yeah, Liam Spence is going to take that next turn and be a stud he's going to be. If somebody would have told me Liam Spence is going to be all SEC, I'd be like, okay, I don't know about that.
Right.
But he has, and I think Max Ferguson was going to be that leadoff batter, but Liam Spence has just been Liam Spence. He's been Mr. Reliable, getting on base somehow, some way, and just does it with the best of them. So that's going to be my MVP for the week, and probably this team up to this point. I mean, we talked about the top of the lineup kind of carrying this team up until probably, I guess, SEC play. We really start to see the bottom of the lineup really kind of show up. Maybe even Vanderbilt. Whenever
I'll say a few weeks ago, it seems like just not too long ago here recently.
Mm-hmm. And Evan Russell has kind of started that off and kind of proven, hey, if you hit the baseball, the staff will move you up. Max Ferguson moved up. Jordan Beck has moved down a little bit, but he newcomer of the week, so he wants to move up in that batting order. So I think it's really cool that they've kind of had a little competition with this entire team of just getting hits. I think all but one starter had a hit on Saturday. So I mean, that's you're going to win a lot of baseball games doing stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just Chad, keep doing what he's doing. Blade, maybe he's about to turn the corner. I mean, we're going to see after Mizzou, you've got Arkansas coming up, so that'll be a big test. But yeah, just keep hitting the ball. It's like I said, just keep hitting the ball like you've been, and you're pitching. Don't say it doesn't matter what they do, but you're putting up 11, 12, 14, whatever you're scoring. You're pretty safe then.
Right. Let's get to some of these comments a little bit. So we had Kreuzberg. I don't know if I got that right, but I'm gonna.
Oh, it's our buddy Sven. Yeah, he's been in here quite a bit.
Yeah, so he said Tennessee needs to be a little bit more deep in the bullpen. Yeah, we actually mentioned that earlier of how we'd like to see more arms. And then Dub said, "What about Luke this weekend? That was awesome." Yeah, I mean, homer in every single game. That one that he hit on Thursday night over the foul pole. I mean, poor drunk frat guy that was walking around back there during that game because he just got blasted.
Chilling by his car in the parking lot.
Yeah, maybe shooting some drunk hoops outside and just got freaking nailed with a ball that probably went 500 feet.
Yeah, I mean, if it hits the road right there in front of Frat Row, it's still rolling right now. I mean, it might be in the river by now.
Still going, yeah. Yeah, I think all around good weekend for the Vols. Let's get into Missouri a little bit. No midweek game due to finals, so that's why we're coming to you guys a little bit earlier this week. Missouri, not a great team. I mean, 12-29 overall, 5-16 in SEC play. I think they've been swept 3 times. They got swept their last series by Alabama. But I think this weekend and next weekend, Tony Vitello is going to have this team juiced. His alma mater in Missouri, and then a place that he previously coached at in Arkansas. I think this team's going to be playing their best baseball these next 2 weekends.
Yeah, I mean they're at the point in the year where, I mean, you've kind of heard it before. Like they're playing for pride at this point. I mean you're going to see some guys that are going to try to step up with with next year coming up, I mean, 12-29 right now. There's not a lot of room to go down, so there's going to be a lot of guys that come out playing hard that are trying to secure a spot for next year, maybe trying to turn it around. So I mean, it's like we said before. It's what you see every week. You can't take your foot off the gas in SEC, but I hope for a sweep this weekend. But just you should win this series without much trouble, I think.
I want to get the brooms out, baby. I haven't swept in a long time, so it's collecting dust. So I need to get that sucker out. So let's get it out against Missouri and solidify your spot. Like, yeah, the regional, I guess, is, I don't know what the percentage is of that we actually get one, but it's got to be pretty high. But leave no doubt.
Yeah.
Super regional, leave no doubt. You kind of stayed right around the same spot that you're at, right around 5, 6, 7, 4, right around in that range is where you're at, basically with everybody in the country. So, just keep building on that. And I think this team it's going to be a hard road ahead, but I think it's going to be fun to watch this team really get to perform in front of their home fans during postseason play.
Yeah, I mean, this team deserves it. Like, I don't know that the NCAA will do it. I think all the evidence is there in front of them. They should do it, but it's the NCAA, so you never know. But I'm ready. I mean, I know we saw I don't know if you saw it today, but the Legends, Lindsey Nelson, they're not going to be their attendance is going to be dwindling from now on. I mean, they're going back home for the summer, stuff like that. But I mean, if you get a regional there, I have a hard time thinking that some of them won't make the trek back for a regional final.
Yeah,
that.
you gotta show up. If you're gonna show up to a game like Lipscomb,
yeah,
you gotta show up to a regional. I don't care where you live.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
you're already paying to be in a frat, so you might as well pay to come back for a weekend series against in a regional or super regional.
Yeah, I mean, I make the drive. It's not a bad commute. I mean, 3 hours is quick when you're listening to a podcast, something like that. The bat flip, more important issues. I mean,
absolutely,
it helps pass the time very effectively.
Absolutely. Well, hey, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, you need to get this series win. I mean, Vandy's playing Alabama this weekend. I think they should handle them. So they're either going to go 2-1 or 3-0 probably. So I mean, you're going to have to match that or better to maintain this tie for the lead, take the sole lead. I mean, Arkansas. I mean, it's like our buddy Spence saying in the comments. I mean, they're really good. I kind of agree. I think they are better than Vanderbilt at this point of the season. So we got them coming up. But I mean, yeah, you just don't let your foot off the gas because Vandy. I think they're going to probably handle Alabama this weekend. So if you want to keep that lead, that tie for the lead, you're going to have to do the same.
Yeah, need that sweep. Anytime you can steal a sweep away from an SEC team, you need to do so. And so I think this is a perfect opportunity to do it in Columbia. And then Arkansas, you control your own destiny. They got a 1-game lead on us. And so if you go win that series, you got the tiebreaker. So, yeah, definitely want to take care of business this weekend and then, see what happens. Who knows?
You never know. It's college baseball, man. It's wild.
Never know. All right, guys. We appreciate it. Y'all have a good week. Go Vols. Beat Mizzou.